is Prison back in Modern, thanks to Modern Horizons 3, and can we build the biggest Ulamog that's literally possible in the format? That's what we're going to find out today. So here's our Prison Breach deck for Modern, and I am really excited for this deck. You know me, I love my Prison decks, and Prison has been really bad in Modern ever since they banned Simian Spirit Guide, but it just might be that thanks to Modern Horizons 3, cards like Chalice of the Void and Trinisphere are back. So these are our two big lock pieces. You probably know Chalice, double X, so you put the X charge counters on it, and then you counter anything of that mana value. In our deck, we're mostly trying to put it on 1, although some matchups it's 0, like Living End, some matchups it's 2, like Ruby Storm, but 1's really the big number. We're trying to lock 1-drops out of the game, and we don't have any 1-drops in our deck, so it doesn't hurt us at all. The other big lock piece is Trinisphere, and Trinisphere is hilarious. It basically just says, any spell costs at least 3 mana, and there's really no way of getting around this. If you evoke an elemental, you gotta pay 3 mana. If you have a Rowl and a Ruby Medallion on the battlefield to reduce the cost of your spells, you still gotta pay 3 mana. There's no way around the Trinisphere. So the goal of our deck is to get these cards on the battlefield on turn 1, on turn 2, thanks to Ugin's Labyrinth. I mentioned before that the heyday of Prison in Modern was before they banned Simian Spirit Guide, because with cards like Chalice and Trinisphere, you really need to get them on the battlefield quickly for them to be effective. Well, now, thanks to Ugin's Labyrinth, we can kind of do the same trick. Ugin's Labyrinth lets us Chalice on 1, Trinisphere on turn 2, and get the lock set up really quickly. Of course, since we're trying to play Ugin's Labyrinth, we need a bunch of big, expensive, colorless cards to turn into a soul land. So for this, we got some Eldrazi cards. Devour of Destiny digs through our deck, finds our lock pieces. Ulamog Defiler, Emrakul the Eon Storm, those are our big finishers. All this does is a sweeper. So what we're doing to close out the game with this deck is trying to cheat one of these big Annihilator Eldrazi into play with through the Breach. And this is actually a really important part of the deck, because lock pieces aren't what they used to be. A decade ago, you could play a Chalice of the Void or a Trinisphere and realistically expect, in at least a decent amount of matchups, it might stick on the battlefield for the whole game. But now, there's so much flexible removal split across colors, there's cards like Beseiju in the mana base, that it's really hard for these cards to stay on the battlefield permanently. But we don't need them to stay on the battlefield permanently. We're hoping that they're going to lock our opponent for 3 turns, 4 turns, 5 turns, 6 turns, and in that time, we find Through the Breach, we find one of these big Annihilator Eldrazi, put them into play, hit our opponent for a ton of damage, and wrath away all their permanents, which then hard locks them again under Trinisphere and so forth if we don't literally win the game. Also worth mentioning, our deck can make the literal biggest Ulamog possible in Modern. So Ulamog cares about the mana value of things in exiles. It gets that many counters and has that much Annihilator. So the trick is, we can use Devour of Destiny in our opening hand to dig through our top 4 cards. We put something on the top of our deck, the rest go to exile. If we can exile an Emrakul, that's going to be a 15-drop in exile, which means our Ulamog will enter the battlefield with 15/15 +1/+1 counters and have Annihilator 15, which is quite literally as big as Ulamog can possibly be in the Modern format. Not very easy to survive an attack with a 22/22 Annihilator 15, but either one of these cards should just win us the game, or even if they don't win us the game, if you're sacking 6 permanents, 15 permanents, you're probably not going to be able to get back in the game. As far as the rest of the deck, Talisman Impulse ramps us into our big plays. Kozilek's Command kind of does everything. It can ramp us, it can be removal, it can be graveyard hate. The One Ring, because it's super busted and draws a ton of cards. Mana base, pretty straightforward stuff. As far as the sideboard, get a bunch of removal, some combo hate, Gemstone Caverns thrown around the draw, and also some cheaper Eldrazi and Thought-Knot Seer, Thief of Existence. And the theory of these cards is, if you look at our main deck, there's really nothing to Lightning Bolt or Fatal Push or use those kind of removal spells on. So in theory, our opponent's probably going to sideboard those out, and then we can bring in something like Thought-Knot Seer, which is still a really powerful 4-drop, and it's probably going to stick on the battlefield and be able to disrupt our opponent, be a blocker, strip something from our opponent's hand. And that is our Prison Breach deck. That's our deck for today. Let's jump into a league and see if we can lock some Modern players out of the game in 2024 and maybe build the biggest Ulamog possible. So thanks for watching, everyone. Enjoy the gameplay, and I'll be back in a bit for the wrap up. Need some magic cards? Well, you can snag them from our sponsor, Card Kingdom, over at cardkingdom.com/MTG Goldfish. All right, it is Prison Breach time, and all right, we got to keep it. Turn 2 Chalice, turn 3 Trinisphere. Obviously, would be absurd if rather than Eldrazi Temple, we had Ugin's Labyrinth and it was turn 1 Chalice, turn 2 Trinisphere, but we're still in the play. We have double Chalice. I mean, hopefully it's a good Chalice matchup. If it's not a good Chalice matchup, we're going to be a little sad because the rest of this hand doesn't do a ton. Trinisphere is hilarious against Storm. Do we want them to know what we're doing? Let's just play a Forest best turn. Forest gives away the least about what we're up to out of our lands. And it's not like we can play a 4-drop next turn if we play Eldrazi Temple or whatever anyway. Be playing something that's soft to Chalice. How about that? We just want to lock you a little bit. Just a little. We just want to make you cast not most of your spells. Bonnet, Atawara, and Tamiyo. All right, well, there's the Labyrinth. Well, let's play Ugin's Labyrinth. Exile Ulamog. We could just jam the Trinisphere. I think we just Chalice on 1. Opponent, Steam Vents. Gonna get in with the Tamiyo. Sure. They probably have a counter spell. They're gonna counter it. They're definitely gonna counter it. Play Eldrazi Temple. Trinisphere. Here comes the counter. Yup. Gonna get in with the Tamiyo. Well, I mean, we can try again with Chalice on 2. Chalice on 1, Chalice on 2 should, I mean, even Chalice on 1 should shut down a lot of our opponent's deck. If we get Chalice on 2 as well, well, let's play the Forest. They still could definitely have another counter, but we gotta go for it because we're not doing anything else here. So Chalice on 2. Really? Oh, the dream. All right, so opponent managed to draw double counter spell. Good for them. And plays an Unstable Amulet. Well, we need to draw a real magic card here. Taps it, exiles a land, plays the land. We slog through the counters. We need to get rid of this Tamiyo. We can start casting our 7s should we get to them. We draw another land. All right, so we're kind of drawing nothing. Opponent cracks the Flooded Strand. Oh, double counter spell. I mean, I'm sure the Chalice is doing some work, but we really needed to stick another piece here. Or we need to draw something, because they're going to flip this Tamiyo. Opponent, Steam Vents, untapped. So I can double crack the clues to flip the Tamiyo. And then we need to draw something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9. I mean, we have things we can cast. We just need to draw them. Opponent. Well, we draw through the breach. Okay. Well, in a world where we manage to resolve a spell and draw a big Eldrazi, that's very good. That is one of our key finishers. Opponent gets to refill there. I mean, this Tamiyo's popping off. Opponent cracks a clue. Unfortunate that the Chalice came down after the Tamiyo. If we got the Chalice down before the Tamiyo, I think this game would look very different. Opponent, combat, gets in with Tamiyo. They're just grinding it. They've built a 1-ring out of this Tamiyo that we can't deal with. Opponent gets in, trying to figure out if they're going to flip their Tamiyo. Decides no. We draw Beseju, which isn't, boy, we've drawn a lot of lands. Isn't especially helpful here. The fact that our opponent's not flipping the Tamiyo makes me think that they very likely have more counters in hand that they want to leave up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 10 mana. So we're actually we have flooded out so hard that we're actually a land away from just casting this Ulamog. If our opponent ever taps down, we can get this Ulamog and breach it. Unfortunately, though, there's nothing in exile, so it doesn't do much. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if this taps for 1 mana, we're a mana short. Opponent has another Amulet and exiles a counter spell. That's unfortunate. Opponent gonna get in with the Tamiyo, make another clue. So now we know our opponent has a counter spell sitting there, which makes life even worse. We draw another Beseju. Well, we will play the Beseju and pass the turn. Also not great that our opponent managed to draw every counter spell. Opponent untaps. Yeah, this is gonna be rough. Opponent, Thundering Falls. Has a Blood Moon. Well, put this back in our hand. This would be the turn to draw a something to work with the breach. The Ulamog's good with the breach if we have something in exile, but our opponent can't actually counterspell right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're actually still 1 mana away from casting the Ulamog, even without anything making 2 mana. How about an Emrakul off the top? Oh, 1 ring. Well, I mean, we will accept that. We'll see if it resolves. There is technically a card in exile because of Unstable Amulet. It's only 2 power. Because what we could do is we could play the breach to bait the counter and then 1 ring. I think we got to do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They probably have forces and whatnot, but through the breach. Wow, opponent's gonna let it go? All right, so we'll put an Ulamog into play. We will go to combat, annihilate you a smidge. Unfortunately, not enough to win the game. That does make me think our opponent does not have a real counter, though. I guess they could have Spell Pierce? I think if they had Force, they would have done it, though. Opponent gonna sack some clues, take their beats. Let's play the Beseiju and play a One Ring. It's gotta resolve, right? The only thing I could see would be Spell Pierce. That would be the thing I could see getting us. All right, it resolves. Opponent's gonna sack a clue, sure. But at least we get to start drawing some cards. Well, One Ring draw. It's even more lands. Holy lands. Well, I guess it's letting us cast our stuff through the Blood Moon. Only has 1 blue mana to deal with, which is probably a little awkward for them. Party Thrasher. Ooh, Party Thrasher's pretty good. Still doesn't solve the 1 blue mana issue, though. Opponent gonna do some thrashing, so now they can convoke cards from exile. Opponent, Unstable Amulet, number 3. We might just get burnt out by these amulets. We need All Is Dust would be the best draw. Opponent gets in with the Tamiyo. I mean, we have 4 All Is Dust. Well, let's see what happens. We get to draw a One Ring. Well, activate the One Ring. Kozilek's command that we can't cast, and a Chalice of the Void. Yeah, I guess losing our colorless mana is kind of annoying just with stuff like this, isn't it? Another One Ring. Keep the old one. Get some protection. Chalice on 2. Forest, go. So opponent exiles another Blood Moon. Party Thrasher, so we can discard a card to exile a card. Discards a Spell Snare. Boy, they are playing a lot of... Wow. Spins into island number 2. That is actually really big for our opponent. Huge, huge, huge. To get out from under their Blood Moon locking of themselves. Hits us for 1. This Blood Moon is definitely messing up our game plan. Down to 19. Opponent passes. Discards to hand size. We take 2. Another Kozilek's command. We'll draw with the One Ring. I'll play Grove of the Burn Willows. Play another One Ring. Opponent. Invert Polarity. Well, let's see how lucky they are. The answer is extremely. Opponent wins the flip. Invert Polarity. I don't know if I like this card. It is such a swingy effect. They get a One Ring. They even get the protection from the One Ring. For some reason, their One Ring looks different than our One Ring, but opponent. Why did it gain a text box? Opponent, gonna start drawing even more cards. Gonna cast a Lightning Bolt. Well, yeah, I think that does it. Opponent. Cax a coup to draw a card. Yeah, I think we just die to these unstable amulets, honestly. Opponent gets to Party Thrasher, gonna tap the One Ring to draw even more cards. So we're at 11 because of the One Ring. Everything they cast from exile is 3. There's a Lightning Bolt. Yeah, so I think we're actually just dead here because of all the amulets. All right, yeah, fair enough. Well, that was annoying. Gosh dang it. All right, so we know what our opponent's doing. Being obnoxious. Man, the Chalices are good against them, and are the Trinispheres. Do we just not change anything? I guess the Theft of Existence might be necessary just to deal with... if we could have drawn an All Is Dust. There's so many good things we could have drawn. Or had the Emrakul to go with the Breach instead of the sad Ulamog. Yeah, let's just bring in the Thief of Existences and run it like that. Yeah, Invert Polarity. It is very high variance, but I guess maybe that's fun. I'm very curious if Wizards designed that card to see Modern play. Well, I mean, this is what we came here to do, and we're going to do it. Turn 1 Chalice, turn 2 Trinisphere. We will reveal a Devour Destiny. Oh boy. Do we just take the Breach and then hope we draw an Emrakul, but then we exile 2 of our Emrakuls? But then they're in exile if we draw an Ulamog. We could take the Eldrazi Temple to make sure we get to the One Ring on time. Yeah, let's do that. We're going to take Eldrazi Temple. So we're going to Ugin's Labyrinth, exile Devour Destiny, and Chalice on 1. This time on the play. Don't got to worry about Tamiyo coming down yet. Flooded Strand, passing. Well, we will play Eldrazi Temple and lock piece number 2, Trinisphere turn 2. Well, this is the start we were hoping for, opponent Flooded Strand. So now 1-drops are countered, everything else costs at least 3. Grove of the Burn Willows, the One Ring. What a prison start. Well, there's the One Ring. Draw with the One Ring. Get a Talisman. Talisman's actually a pretty good draw here because that gives us colorless mana even through a Blood Moon. And we saw that last game, not having colorless mana was kind of an issue. Opponent gonna do some cracking. So if they Blood Moon us, it's annoying, but not deadly. We do need to be aware of, wow, Island. So opponent's preparing for the Blood Moon. If they slam a Blood Moon, it's kind of okay. Like, it's annoying, but it's kind of okay. Opponent passes. Well, we take one. Draw with the One Ring. I guess we play Talisman? Yeah, let's play second Trinisphere just to make sure. Just in case you have an answer to one of them. We're gonna keep staxing it up. Trinisphere number 2, go. Opponent. Lightning Bolt for 3 mana into the Chalice. Best bolt ever. Oh, I forgot how much I love Chalice and Trinisphere. Opponent passes. We draw more cards. One Ring is so messed up. My god, there's a breach. Well, let's activate One Ring. I think we just... Oh boy, we're so close. I think our plan is cast a big Kozilek's command on our opponent's end step. If they counter that, then we get to untap and do the biggest breach possible because they won't have mana to pay the Trinisphere cost. And if they don't counter it, then I guess we scry a bunch and make some mana. Is it Blood Moon time? They're thinking about it. Well, okay, we have 1, 2. So we can Kozilek's command for 6. Target us. So scry 6, draw a card, make 6 spawn tokens. I guess we can just hardcast an Emrakul at this point. We will take another Chalice, or do we need the land? We might need the land. Actually, I have all the spawns. Let's take Chalice. Oh, I guess we can. Oh, right. Bottom. Top. I mean, we're gonna draw all these because of the One Ring. So take the Forest now. The Forest, another way we can make sure we can cast something through a Blood Moon. One Ring triggers. Well, let's activate the One Ring. Draw some cards. Play the Forest. Chalice on 2. Slowly cutting off our opponent's possible outs. So now there's a Chalice on 2 as well. See, I think we just passed the turn. Discard 2 Devour Destinies, and all is dust. So now what we can do is we can end step breach, untap breach again if it gets countered. And I think that's gotta do it, right? There's no way. Or we can find one more Chalice and Chalice on 3. And then we have literally all the options cut off. Opponent passing. Well, we will 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 through the breach. Put a Ulamog into play. 22. Annihilator your deck. Annihilator 15. Go to combat. Get in with the Ulamog. And sack them all. Well, Annihilator 15's a pretty big number. Wow, we have our opponent. Yeah, this looks like a flawless victory, I think. Galvanic. Oh, yeah. Galvanic Discharge into the Chalice, into the Ward 2, and that'll do it. Well, that's the power of Chalice on turn 1. That's the power. Turn 1 Chalice, kind of a ridiculous thing in some matchups. That was kind of the dream, right? Turn 1 Chalice, turn 2 Trinisphere, and then we got another Chalice going in the future. I think we cut our mountain. If our opponent sticks a Blood Moon, everything's going to be mountains anyway. For the Gemstone Caverns, the question is, can we bring in a Dismember? Do we need to bring in a Dismember? Do we even care about Dismember? We did get snowballed by Tamiyo in game 1, and that was awkward. Let's go up 1 Dismember. Trinisphere is such a absurdly brutal card. Maybe down 1 more All is Dust. Try it like that. Let's try it like that. Well, here we go. Game 3. This time we're on the draw, sadly. I mean, we're going to keep this. We get to reveal the Devourer. Opponent. Oh boy. Something bad about to happen. Island, and there's the Tamiyo. Well, we knew that was a possibility. Devourer, gonna do a little digging. I think we gotta take Kozilek's command over the Trinisphere. Yeah, take the Kozilek's command. Play the Ugin's Labyrinth. Exile the Devourer. Play the Talisman. Pass the turn. So ideally, this Kozilek's command can get rid of the Tamiyo at some point. Thundering Falls. Ooh, we might just fire it off right away. We haven't seen 1 mana counters. We've seen 2 and 3 mana counters. Not that they couldn't have 1 mana counters, but opponent gets in, hits us. makes a clue, we draw, wow, through the breach. So I think what we do now, I think this is actually super easy. We play the forest. Actually, do we want to, yeah, let's play the forest. So what we're gonna do is, we're gonna try to kill the Tamiyo. If our opponent counters to protect the Tamiyo, then we threw the breach. If they Blood Moon, we threw the breach. There's a Blood Moon. All right, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Kozilek's command. Exile you, make some spawns. So get rid of the Tamiyo, make a couple spawns, get Blood Moon. However, thanks to spawn power, we can play the Eldrazi Temple 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 through the breach for an Emrakul. And one way to deal with an Emrakul is just annihilate all the, this is turn 3, turn 3 Emrakul annihilation. I mean, we don't literally win, which is awkward. If our opponent comes back from this, that would be incredibly impressive. There's Emrakul, shuffle it back in. Now that our opponent's been annihilated, this Trinisphere becomes even more devastating. Opponent, island, and passing. We need 3 points of damage. Wow, another Emrakul. Play Beseju, play the Trinisphere. Ooh, opponent has consigned to memory. All right, sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I think we get back to Devour. Opponent, another Tamiyo. Well, all right, end step. Get back the Devourer. Untap. Another, so many Emrakuls. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Devour a Destiny. Get rid of the Tamiyo. Wow, do they have another consign? Oh, they get a Surveil land. Oh, yeah, that's gonna be, it is so hard to come back from Emrakul annihilation. Well, Tamiyo down. There's a 6/6. Opponent untaps. Land. Cracks to 1. Tap land. Our opponent said, "Oh no, I can't kill myself." They were trying to fetch shock and go out on their own terms. The thing is, you got to do it exactly, right? Like if you're at 1 life, you can't pay 2 life because you can't pay life you don't have. If you're at 2 life, you can pay 2 and go to 0, but you can't go from 1 to -1. So our opponent, super fun conversation. They just started playing Moto 2 days ago, and they're blood mooning people on Moto. So welcome to Magic Online, Scriffy. We are playing some Prison Breach in Modern, and we're going to keep this. This hand isn't going to get down a super fast lock piece, but in theory, it ramps into a whole bunch of 1 rings. 3 the 1 rings. Magic the way Tolkien intended. Carbulzan Forest, go. I think the worst thing that could happen here is Thoughtseize on Talisman would be very awkward. All right, well, that's not a Thoughtseize on Talisman. It's a commercial district. Opponent gonna do a little surveilling and mill a 1 ring. Well, we'll play Eldrazi Temple and run out a Talisman Impulse. This might not be a good Trinisphere matchup. What is our opponent playing? Oh, it's Amulet Titan. Oh boy. Pretty sure this is like our worst possible matchup. Opponent, Valakut, and Flare Cultivation. Gonna get some lands. Well, that was a pretty fast start for our opponent. We'll play Grove of the Burn Willows. Run out a 1 ring. So we need to breach. That is basically it. We need to find breach. Chalice of the Void. I don't think that does anything here. So we need to find breach Emrakul and just breach our opponent as we hide behind the 1 ring. Opponent also going to 1 ring to draw some cards. Yup. Really need to do something about the price of the 1 ring. That is becoming a big issue. Opponent plays a land and passes. Well, we take 1. We draw Nugan's Labyrinth. We will 1 ring. Kozilek's Command and nothing. Play another 1 ring. Keep the old one. Get some protection. Play a Grove of the Burn Willows and pass the turn. I mean, as long as we're protected, our opponent can't scapeshift us. And if we find Emrakul Breach, they won't have the lands to do it. Opponent, Dry to the Ilzengrove. And a Dwarven Mine. Dry to the Ilzengrove. And a Scalding Tarn. Well, let's go Emrakul Breach. 1 ring. Dig it up. Draw with the 1 ring. Well, there's a breach. No Emrakul to go with it, unfortunately, but that is a breach. Still nothing to go with the Labyrinths either, which is super awkward. So I think what we do is play Eldrazi Temple, Kozilek's Command, scry draw Oh, they're just going to shoot down. If we make spawns, they're going to shoot them down. Maybe that's fine, though. Let's scry, draw, make spawns. So do some scrying, do some drawing. Well, bottom and also bottom. Emrakul, waste. Good God. 1, 2, 3, 4. Another One Ring. Keep the old one. Pass, discard to hand size. Opponent's going to crack their fetch. The question is, do we even win the game if we breach an Emrakul? Is that even enough here? And I'm not actually sure that it is. One Ring, down to 16. Gets to draw a bunch of cards. Which I guess is fair, since we're also drawing a bunch of cards. I guess there's also a world where our opponent plays a bunch of fetches and, like, kills us during our turn? They do have a bunch of Dryad of Ilson's Groves. Fetch land, fetch land. Yeah, our prison pieces don't work that well against Scapeshift decks. Well, we untap. We take One Ring damage. We draw in All Is Dust, which is okay, but not exactly what we need. Draw with the One Ring. How do we stay alive? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't even think Breach actually does it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kozilek's Command. Get rid of a creature, scry and draw. We scry and draw, kill a Dryad. I mean, we need to hit the Emrakul here. That's basically it. So we get to go 3 cards deep. Well, there's an Emrakul. Bottom, bottom, top. All right, well, there it is. Is it enough? Ugin's Labyrinth. Exile Devourer of Destiny. Hopefully this works because of the One Ring. We will see. We'll exile the Devourer of Destiny through the breach. Oh no, wait. Does that matter? Okay, we have to do it the other way. We have to take the damage, I think. Well, I guess it doesn't matter if they're at 2 or if they're at 1 because of the One Ring. All right, well, through the breach, we will cast it. Put a Emrakul into play. I mean, they're a Gruul deck, so I don't really know what their instant speed answer to this could be. They can sack the One Ring and then try to win with Valakut Dryad. Like, token, 4 lands, 1 ring. They go to 2. They go to 2 and then try to kill us with land drops, Scapeshift, Dryad, which I think still they might have just enough permanence to make this work. They're gonna sack 4 lands. Yep. I think they still can kill us, assuming they have a land drop. It's kind of wild. We got in an Emrakul attack, but our opponent made so many land drops. It just took us way too long to find it. Like, it took us way too long to actually find it. So we'll discard a waste. I expect we just die here, though. Opponent. Oh, well, if they got another Valakut, we're definitely die here. Yep. Yeah, I think this is probably the worst matchup for our deck in the format because they don't care about any of our stacks pieces. Like, literally none of them. Opponent hits us, and then we die. Yep. Yep. Well, I mean, there was Emrakul, but it wasn't good enough. So Stonebrain comes in. Thought Knot Seer comes in. Gemstone Caverns comes in. We go down. Sadly, Trinisphere out. Yeah, this is just like a matchup where none of our stacks pieces do anything. None of our prison pieces. And then I guess a couple dismembers running like that. Well, on to game number 2. We are on the play. No prison this time. I mean, we're gonna keep this. I don't know if it's gonna be fast enough, but I mean, we have a breach and an Emrakul. Sadly, our soul lands are Eldrazi temples, so they're not making mana for breach. Extra mana for breach. We need a labyrinth. Take the talisman, Eldrazi Temple, mountain, and passes. Well, we'll play an Eldrazi Temple and a Talisman of Impulse. So up to 3 mana. So if we draw a Labyrinth, we get to win next. Well, do the thing next turn. If we don't draw a Labyrinth, we need 1 more land. Opponent Scalding Darn cracks it. Stomping Grounds untapped. Damping Sphere. Okay. Well, play the Karpusan Forest, pass the turn. This is kind of fine. Kozilek's Command's actually a very good draw. So we can Kozilek's Command to make some tokens. Sakura Tribe Elder. Kozilek's Command to make some tokens, and then the tokens let us breach, and the breach makes our opponent die. I mean, I guess they don't die, but they lose all their permanence, which, at that point, they will be wishing for death. Kozilek's Command, make a couple spawns, draw a card. So 2 spawns, scry 2, draw a card. Oh, is there anything? What do we have in exile? All Is Dust? Oh, that's even better, isn't it? Put on top. So we draw the Labyrinth, we untap, we play the Labyrinth, no point in exiling anything. Through the breach, Emrakul into play. I think that, oh, an opponent scoops it up. I think it's best to put Emrakul into play, because if we Emrakul and annihilate away the Damping Sphere, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, we're a land away from just hardcasting the Ulamog next turn. That might have actually been a reason to exile the second Emrakul even with the Damping Sphere out. Although, in reality, once you get Emrakul'd, the game pretty much ends. Maybe we want Thief of Existence? All is Dust a little questionable in this matchup, because it doesn't deal with lands. Let's try that. Yeah, so this is just not the fun matchup where we get to lock people, but hopefully we just breach them and it's close enough. I mean, we're definitely keeping this. This hand is not close to breaching, but we get a Devour Destiny, we get a Stone Brain, which might be able to shut down some of the shenanigans. Getting rid of every Valakut would be ridiculously huge. Opponent, Scalding Tarn, and passing. Well, Devour Destiny. Find us something good. I guess we just take Kozilek's Command? Yeah, I think we just take Kozilek's Command. Play the Eldrazi Temple. Pass the turn. Cracking their fetch. Getting a Commercial District. Milling a One Ring. Opponent, Scalding Tarn, and cracks it. Grabs a Mountain and Skirt Tribeller. Well, there's a One Ring. Let's play Karpusan Forest, pass the turn. So I think we just Kozilek's Command this turn, and if our opponent doesn't have a Valakut on the battlefield, try to Stone Brain the Valakut. They could also One Ring here, which would be annoying. But then I guess we get to One Ring back. Opponent, land, forest, and One Ring. Well, we will. 1, 2, 3, 4. Kozilek's Command. Scry draw, make a spawn. I mean, we gotta keep through the breach in case we draw an Emrakul to go with it. So the opponent gets some protection, draws a card. We draw a Grove of the Burn Willows. So this is actually super interesting. How risky is it to just blow up the One Ring? We shouldn't be able to die this turn, right? I mean, we could also play our own One Ring and just try to draw into something to go with the breach. That might even be better. We would have to sack our spawn, which means we wouldn't have the mana to breach next turn. Yeah, I think we can wait a turn. Let's just Thief of Existence. Actually, I think we'd rather have our opponent gain a life here. Let's play Grove of the Burn Willows. Get rid of the One Ring. And pass the turn. This is a huge turn cycle. This turn is huge. Huge, 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 huge. Opponent untaps. We need there not to be a Valakut. Okay, Commercial District. That's not a Valakut. As long as there's not a Valakut, then we can Stone Brain away all the Valakuts. We can also just draw an Emrakul and put an end to all of this. Opponent has a Damping Sphere, sure. Opponent passes. We draw Kozilek's Command. So how could this go wrong? What could possibly... They have 3 cards in hand. I think we gotta just go for it. So we're gonna go to combat and attack. Well, let's play the Mountain first. Go to combat, hit you with the Thief of Existence. I think we gotta just try to get rid of the Valakuts. 1, 2, Stone Brain. 1, 2, activate Stone Brain. Valakut the Molten Pinnacle. Yes. We would like to get rid of every one of them. Oh god, they gotta... I don't know if they can win now. I think they have to beat us by beating down with Dryad of the Illicen Grove. I guess they have a wish. So they can wish to get a Valakut from their sideboard, theoretically. All right, that was still pretty good. So we got rid of 3 of the Valakuts. They got 1 hiding in the sideboard, but this makes it much more difficult for our opponent to win. Here comes a Dryad. And we're still drawing live to... Ooh, wait, what's an exile? Oh god almighty. 1, 2, I think this is it. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think we threw the breach here and then put a Ulamog into play. It has Annihilator 10, 17, 17, Annihilator 10. Opponent's got Z's in chat too. Oh, yes, because annihilating you with Ulamog the Defiler is a 17-17 Annihilator 10 is boring. But scape shifting into Valakut, that's, good clean magic. Ulamog is actually pretty sweet. You get such big Annihilator numbers off this. Well, that was actually pretty impressive because I think this is one of our worst matchups. So being able to win in one of our toughest matchups when all of our prison pieces are basically dead cards, I guess that's the power of Ulamog and through the breach. Yeah, sweet. It just doesn't do anything. I think we got a mulligan this one. Put Karpusan Forest to the bottom. We can start with the Gemstone Caverns. Talesman of Impulse. All right, let's see what happens. See what our opponent's doing. Swamp and Stitcher's Supplier. All right, Graveyard Shenanigans. Double Bloodghast, not dead after all. Play Eldrazi Temple. Play a Talesman of Impulse. At some point, we could exile some stuff from the graveyard. It might be too slow, though, because here comes the Bloodghast again. Opponent, combat, hits us. We draw. Kozilek's Command. Well, we'll play the Ugin's Labyrinth. Nothing to exile. So I think our plan is Kozilek's Command, see if we can find a Eldrazi. Orcish Bowmasters for our opponent. Sure. So opponent makes a Bowmasters. Maybe we should have Kozilek's Command in response. This is worded in the way that's less good for us. The creature exile comes last. Well, we'll take the beats. Another Bowmaster. Well, okay. Kozilek's Command. Exile a creature. Scry and draw. Exile a Bowmaster. I think they do get a Bowmaster trigger off this because of how it's worded. The card draw comes first. So we do snipe it, but I think the card draw is going to resolve before the sniping. Well, bottom, top. So Bowmasters triggers. Bowmasters gets exiled. We take a beating. Yeah, down to 8. Spymaster's Vault. Nethergoyf. Through the breach. That's not what we were looking for. All right, so we gotta... I think we're actually in trouble now. I think this is actually gonna beat us. These Bloodghasts, too good. Too good. Yeah, I think they might be getting us here. Stitcher Supplier to mill some cards. I mean, we can try to set up in All Is Dust. The problem is the Bloodghasts are going to come back anyway. Oh boy, that's triple Bloodghast. So I think that means we probably die even if we, no matter what, opponent, and they have a fetch. Oh, we definitely die. That is a... Well, okay, so there was some high rolling involved here. The high rolling is that our opponent managed to mill all of those Bloodghasts. Like 3 of their Bloodghasts were, or 2 of their Bloodghasts were in their top 3 cards that they milled. So they did kind of really high roll with the milling. The problem we have here is, even if we stay alive, I don't think we can win because of the Bloodghast and the fetch land. Yeah, we just can't win from here. All right. There is very good news here, though, which is, so our opponent's a Scam deck, which is bad news because Scam is super annoying. The good news is, it seems like our Chalice Trinisphere plan should be very good against them. Should we actually be able to resolve it? Or we might just get scammed into oblivion. That's always the risk against Scam, right? Like, sometimes Scam just has the right draw and there's not much you can do about it. But Chalice on 1 does seem relatively effective. Maybe one Ulamog, run it like that. All right, opponent, we get to play first. Well, that's a turn 1 Chalice hand. We will keep. So we can reveal the Devourer, do some digging, Labyrinth, Chalice on 1, and see if our opponent can beat it. And then we have 1 rings to back it up too. They could have Bowmasters, but so we will reveal the Devourer. Yeah, let's take Kozilek's Command because that can deal with a Bowmaster and free up our 1 rings. Ugin's Labyrinth, exile the Devourer, and Chalice on 1. No thought seizing for you, opponent. We're gonna do some surveilling. I swear to God, it's a friggin' Bloodghast. Our opponent's Bloodghast luck is immaculate. Opponent, Swamp, gets back the Bloodghast. And Dothy Voidwalker. Well, we get to start ringing. Oh, they're gonna grief. You're gonna grief, pitch a card, it goes to the graveyard, so they can take a 1 ring. This might actually have to change our plans. If they take a 1 ring, I think we have to Kozilek's Command. Wow, okay. They're just gonna take the Kozilek's Command. Well, we'll play the land. We will play the 1 ring and begin the drawing with the 1 ring. There's a Through the Breach, okay. Can we draw an Emrakul? And a land. So opponent kind of needs a Bowmaster. Opponent Swamp, 2 cards in hand, goes to combat and passes. We draw Karpuzan Forest. Well, I mean, we gotta go for it. 1 ring. You got the Bowmaster, you got the Bowmaster. They do not. So Karpuzan Forest, we will play a Talisman of Impulse. And 1, 2, 3, and 4. Play another 1 ring. Keep the old one, get some protection. We don't want to get thought seized here because we are an Eldrazi away from just annihilating our opponent out of this game. Sacks the Voidwalker. They're going to play a 1 ring. Yup. Draws with the 1 ring. Plays a Spymaster's Vault. Connives with the Spymaster's Vault. Discards land and... All right, so we take 2. It is awkward that the Voidmaster got to steal that 1 ring, but maybe we shouldn't have Legend Ruled. Maybe we should have waited. Another Talisman. Well, that's 1 ring. There's the Emrakul. That's what we were looking for. The question is, do we do it? Yeah, I mean, I think it's worth it. Play a Talesman. Grove of the Burn Willows. Through the Breach. Emrakul. Annihilate ya. Wow, opponent had they drew into a Flare of Malice. All right, opponent is not giving up. They are not giving up. Opponent untaps with our One Ring. Draws with our One Ring. Phyrexian Tower to get back the Bloodghast. Well, we take a little One Ring damage. We activate the One Ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I think we just play a Grove of the Burn Willows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, play a Talesman. It's probably safest just to One Ring again, isn't it? Yeah, let's One Ring again. We're going to keep the new one this time. Keep the new one. Get some protection. Draw a card. Next turn, we can start hardcasting Eldrazi. Although our opponent is drawing a lot of cards. Opponent, One Ring draws. Trinisphere would actually be nice. I can't believe we haven't found one yet. Opponent, Geralf's Messenger. Can't actually damage us, though, because we're protected. And opponent plays a Swamp. Passes. All right, let's see what we find. So there's the One Ring. Gemstone Caverns. Well, draw with the One Ring. There's the Trinisphere. Play Carpusan Forest. Devourer of Destiny. Exile the Bloodghast. They can sack it. Opponent. Gonna sack it. Yeah, I think we might have messed up by letting our opponent get that One Ring. That might have been a mistake. Opponent gonna connive. Discards a land. Well, we will pass the turn. Yeah, that might have been a mistake to let our opponent get our One Ring. Opponent take some beats, although this Trinisphere is going to be helpful. So our opponent can really only play 2 spells, even though they got a ton of mana. Going to sack the Messenger. It comes back, deals 2 damage. And Legend Rules to get back the Bloodghast. Okay. So I guess maybe they can play 3 spells, thanks to the Phyrexian Tower. Chthonian Nightmare. Sure. Gonna get back the Dauthi Voidwalker. Sacking the Messenger. Gonna sack the Voidwalker, play the Nightmare. So are they just trying to get in as much damage as I can with the Messenger? Is that the game plan? Okay, gonna get back the Messenger. Well, they got 1 more spell at their disposal. We dropped to 9. Opponent's gonna take 4. Oh, so they're gonna leave up mana for a spell. Well, they have to discard a hand size. Could really use a Breach. That's the card we really want to see here. Take the One Ring damage. Eldrazi Temple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we're still short. Oh, there's a Breach. Thank goodness. Flare of Malice. How can we get around Flare of Malice? So I think what we have to do is Kozilek's command the Geralf's Messenger and then Breach. Kozilek's command, exile Geralf's Messenger, and make some spawns. Opponent. Okay, there's a Flare of Malice, but this is all fine, because we made them use their mana. And now the Breach will actually be lethal. So we dropped to 5. We still get our spawns. And now, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Through the Breach. Emrakul. 15, yeah, and that looks like Xaxes. Oh, well, that was close. That was close. That was really the power of Trinisphere. The power of Trinisphere. That was very much a Trinisphere game where if our opponent, because we were nice enough to give our opponent a One Ring, which I don't know if that was a good idea, but because we were nice enough to give our opponent a One Ring, they had a lot of cards this game that they normally wouldn't have. But the Trinisphere made it so our opponent just couldn't cast all the cards that they needed to cast, and was able to protect us from the flares, which are really good against the Emrakul. So yeah, that was a good Trinisphere game. Well, Gemstone Caverns can come back in since we're on the draw. Do we need the Thought Knots? We don't really have Graveyard, hey, other than the Kozilek's commands. If we get scammed, we get scammed. Run it back, run it back. All right, opponent. Well, I mean, we're going to keep this. This is one of those hands where it's sad that we were on the draw, because if we were on the play, this hand's kind of sweet. But Gemstone Caverns, we will exile a Trinisphere. All right. Well, let's see if they got the scam. Polluted Delta passes. Interesting. Well, we will Carpusan Forest and Chalice on 1. Pass the turn. So that's big. That shuts down Thoughtseize effects. They can still, if they mill a Bloodghast, I swear to God. Okay, Swamp. Okay, we're good. We're good. Our opponent's blood gas luck has finally run out. Dauthi Voidwalker. We could use more lands, I guess. Eldrazi Temple's not bad. I think we play Eldrazi Temple and just... Should we just be Trinisphereing? Does that make the most sense? What if they grief us and take the One Ring? Yeah, we're gonna Kozilek's Command. Exile a creature. Maybe we Scry Draw, that's probably better. All right, so Scry Draw, get rid of the Voidwalker. So Voidwalker down. Yeah, let's go bottom. I don't think we actually want him. Now we draw another Beseiju. All right, well, pass the turn. We didn't really want another Beseiju either, but I feel like last game, the reason to get rid of the Voidwalker, there's a Bloodghast. The reason to get rid of the Voidwalker is, and all right, there's another Voidwalker. Really good against the One Ring. That's the main concern. There's a Talisman. Well, play Beseiju, play a One Ring, and start drawing some cards. Ooh, Devour is not bad. If we can hit a Soul Land, we could do that next turn. Maybe we need a setup turn to get down the Trinisphere. Well, let's see what our opponent does. Another Bloodghast. Well, I guess if we Trinisphere. All right, opponent plays a Nightmare. Goes to combat, and oh, we could blow it up too. Passes. Well, let's see what we draw. We're definitely clear to One Ring. I think if we hit a Soul Land, we just snipe the Voidwalker. Get down the Devour Destiny. If we don't, then we can do like Trinisphere, Talisman, maybe Beseiju. The Nightmare is just not looking that scary at the moment. Oh, another Chalice. Good lord. Well, One Ring. Trinispheres for days, but no lands. Legend Rule ourselves. Keep the new one. We're just going to play Chalice on 2. Chalice on 1 and Chalice on 2 seems like it should shut down a pretty big percent of our opponent's deck. All right, Chalice on 1, Chalice on 2. This also pretty much shuts down the Nightmare, right? We could have Beseiju the Nightmare, but yeah, opponent. Chalice on 1, Chalice on 2 means opponent doesn't get to cast anything. I'm pretty sure their entire deck is 1 and 2 drops. So at this point, we have just successfully locked them out of the game. And that doesn't even include the Trinispheres that we didn't have time to get down. And we're up to 3-0. We are slocking our way through. Locking people. It feels so good to be able to prison people out of Modern again. Ooh, opponent. Okay. Oh, no. This might be bad. Opponent's playing an Eldrazi deck. Oh, you know what that means? That means all of our hate pieces are going to be real bad. Because we're playing them in our deck, and we can function through them, which I'm pretty sure means our opponent can do the same thing. Okay. Well, if there's good news, it's that we got these Chalice of the Voids. I don't even think we cast them. Opponent's playing well, okay. There could be an argument for casting them, actually. The argument for casting them, I think, well, okay, I don't think it's a good argument. The argument for casting them is it does shut down, like, Expedition Map, it shuts down Ancient Stirrings, but I think we're just better off Kozilek's Commanding here. Opponent's getting a little mini Kozilek's Command, okay. Plays in Urza's Mine. Thought not Sia. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. We will Kozilek's Command. Make some dorks, scry and draw. Oh, this is, oh boy, but we can't cast it. Ugh. Oh, we can cast it. Okay, this is perfect. Put on top. Wow, this was the perfect pile. Put on top. So, oh, this is beautiful. So opponent gets to Thought Knot us. We get to hide our Emrakul on the top of our deck so our opponent can't take it. And then we untap with exactly the perfect amount of mana to annihilate our opponent out of this game. I mean, I guess the power of Emrakul means even with a bunch of dead cards, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Opponent takes a breach. Thankfully, we have a backup. Opponent's gonna pass. And I think this is the game ending. There's an Emrakul on top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breach. Emrakul. Annihilate ya. This is at least gonna set our opponent off Tron for a minute. Opponent sacks it all. Drops to 6. We draw a Gemstone Caverns and pass the turn. I mean, we don't literally win the game yet. We don't literally win the game, but we do get rid of all of our opponent's lands. Wow, I think they would have had Tron. There's an Expedition Map, so they're gonna try to reassemble. We draw a Talisman. Well, 1, 2. Play Talisman. Play Gemstone Cavern. Trinisphere. Pass the turn. Opponent. Wow! They're just gonna assemble Tron anyway. Okay. An Emrakul. Well, we will get down this Devourer. Nothing to kill. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I can't believe our opponent essentially assembled Tron twice. Well, there's a Devourer. Pass the turn. They need to stop the Devourer. They have a Devour of their own to block with. How about just drawing another Breach? We draw a Forest. Well, go to combat. Attack you. Opponent's gonna block. How do you Chalice on 1 through a Trinisphere? That's a good question. Hey, there we go. All right, so Chalice on 1 through the Trinisphere, past the turn. Another Urza's Tower. Good God. Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger. We're getting Tron. Well, that's not good. It's not good at all. Devour Destiny, that doesn't do anything. This makes us die. Wow. Wow! Maybe we should have waited another turn. I did not think that our opponent would reassemble Tron that easily. Actually, very surprised by that reassembly. Well, okay, so unfortunately, Chalice of the Void does nothing. Trinisphere does nothing. So we'll bring in Thought Knots, Thief of Existences, and Stone Brains. And I guess just run it like that. Actually, wait, All His Dust also does nothing. So Dismembers in. Does not have any mana. All right. I guess it's okay. It's okay. It's a turn 2 Thought Knot hand. That's fine. Besage you to the bottom. Reveal the Devourer. Opponent also going to reveal the Devourer. We will take a... Oh, we don't have the red mana for Through the Breach. How do we want to do this? I think we take a One Ring. Play Ugin's Labyrinth. Exile the All Is Dust. Pass the turn. Opponent gets to do Devourer things. Opponent, Ugin's Labyrinth. And passes. Well, we'll play Eldrazi Temple. I think getting down the One Ring is more important than playing the Thought Knot here. So we got a Kozilek's Command. Opponent, second Ugin's Labyrinth. Exiles a World Breaker and plays a Karn the Great Creator. That's really bad for us. Actually, we're probably dead. Turn 2 Karn, I don't think we can beat. We don't have a way to answer it. Gets a Stone Brain. Well, we will. Kozilek's Command. Make some spawns. Draw a card. So One Ring goes to the bottom. Oh, it's not even a good land. We're going to put it to the bottom. Draugr over the Burn Willows. All right, well, we untap. Ugin's Labyrinth. Exile the Devourer. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thought Knot Seer. Null Drifter, Stonebrain Expedition map. We need to get rid of this Karn. How do we get rid of the Karn? I guess we just take the Null Drifter. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Play a One Ring. Pass the turn. Well, Thought Knot, it's up to you, friend. It is up to you. Tutors with Karn again. It is wild how fast Modern is with Ugin's Labyrinth. Opponent takes an Ensnaring Bridge. Plays an Ensnaring Bridge. Plays a Stone Brain. Well, Grove of the Burn Willows. Is there even a point in continuing this game? I don't think we can beat it. Well, we'll pass. I guess we won't scoop, but I think this game is over now. We'd have to draw Beseiju like this turn. We'll stick around for like a turn, because if we draw Beseiju, there's a chance. But opponent is going to assemble Tron. Turn 2 Karn is just too fast. I wonder, do you think Modern... Oh boy, it's definitely interesting. Can't really say much because we were playing Ugin's Labyrinth as well. Opponents having, players having access to 4 mana on turn 2 is kind of wild. That's like Legacy. It's like Legacy stuff, but in Modern. Like, what do you... boy, I guess you just gotta scam them? How do you stop a turn 2 Karn? Well, there goes our 5-0 dream, sadly. Our opponent... I guess this seems like a really bad matchup because all of our whole prison plan just does nothing. Does literally nothing against our opponent's deck. And we're not dirty Karn players. Gotta hate that card. Maybe my least favorite card in Modern. It's on the short list. Ugh, Karn. What a horrible design. Thought Knot Seer. I mean, we can cast it. It doesn't do anything, but we can cast it. Look at that. Thought Knot Seer. Take a World Breaker, play a Grove of the Burn Willows, pass the turn. Ticks up their Karn. Yeah, this is just a Karn win. We do nothing, we draw. Well, that doesn't really do anything now, does it? And then they get to get their things back from exile, they get to tutor more from the sideboard. Well, I mean, play the Stone Brain. And pass the turn. Yeah, Karn being able to protect itself with Bridge is so... nasty. I mean, it's not as bad as when Mycosynth Lattice with this thing. That's one of the reasons I get salty about Karn too, is Mycosynth Lattice is such a cool card that does cool, fun things. And then it pays the price for Wizards' just horrible design mistakes. Bound it. Tutor number 3 from the sideboard. We're going to be scooping here very shortly. Get Stone Brain from exile. Good enough. Good enough, opponent. Good enough. Oh, we have no lock pieces though. This hand is what? Pitch Ulamog. Yeah, we're gonna mulligan. We have a bunch of mana, but it doesn't do anything other than Kozilek's Command. All right, this will keep. This will keep. All is dust to the bottom. We'll start with Gemstone Caverns. Exiling Beseiju. We have Chalice for next turn into Breach and Emrakul. If it's fast enough, opponent passes. No, even more Emrakuls. All right, little Emrakul flooded at the moment. Well, that's Chalice on one. And pass the turn. Well, show us the mana. Show us the mana. So if they're the energy deck, this does shut down a decent amount of cards, but not everything. They still have 2-drops. But the Chalice on 1 should be good. If we can get a Chalice on 2 as well, then they're just done. Hard locked. Oh, they're Storm. All right, Pyretic Ritual. Well, in this one, we really need Trinisphere, Ruby Medallion, and Pyretic Ritual, and Desperate Ritual, and Row. Maybe our opponent just wins on turn 2. Yeah, this is getting banned. Past in Flames. Yeah, there is no way. This upcoming Pro Tour is going to tell us a lot about it. Ultimate's Row. I mean, this is turn 2 in Modern. Our Chalice is doing literally nothing. Although Trinisphere actually just hard locks this deck. Well, yeah, Storm is a turn 2 deck now. I mean, our opponent did have to have the perfect hand, right? They had to have triple ritual. It takes a very, very specific hand to make it work. Yeah, there's no sense in playing this out any further. Even if they fizzle, it's not like we can do something next turn. So, well, we know what our opponent's doing. They're playing Storm. So Chalice is only really going to be good if it's on 2. It's not going to be very good on 1. Is it even going to be fast enough if it's on 2? Dismember could be like okay, but the thing is they just win the turn they go off, so I don't think like Thief of Existence is that good. We really just want the Trinisphere very early in the game. That's kind of the dream. So All Is Dust goes for sure. Is Chalice, I mean, that was like the 99 percentile draw, so that's not going to happen every time. But is Chalice good enough if it has to be on 2? Probably not, right? Let's go. Okay, we'll go down 2 Chalices for 2 Dismembers. I don't even know if Stonebrain actually stops them. I think we just run it like that. I don't think Stonebrain's fast enough, and I don't think it stops them enough. Well, show us fast mana into Trinisphere. And also maybe our opponent not having a turn 1 kill draw. This is a turn 3 Trinisphere, which is slower than we'd like, but it's coming after a turn 2 Thought Knot Seer, so maybe it's okay, because we can Thought Knot this turn, make sure our opponent can't win on their turn 2, and then Trinisphere from there. Passes. Well, we will Eldrazi Temple, and 1, 2, 3, 4, Thought Knot Seer. See what you're working with over there, opponent. 2 Desperate Rituals. Do we just take the Ruby Medallion? I think we just take the Ruby Medallion. I don't think they should be able to kill us here unless they top deck really spectacularly. They basically need to top deck another Ral or Ruby Medallion. If they do, since they have 2 rituals in hand, there's some chance they could go off, especially if it's a Ral. If it's a Ruby Medallion, less likely. I mean, if our opponent wins on turn 2, through a Thought Knot Seer, I guess you just gotta tip your hat to him, right? There's not much you can do about that. We draw Dismember. Grove of the Burn Willows. Hit you with the Thought Knot Seer. And now we will get down our real tech, the card that I think makes it basically impossible for our opponent to combo off. We'll see. Trinisphere. Opponent cracks. Sacred Foundry. Tapped. So now everything costs 3, no matter what. There's no getting around it. Your Ral's not going to save you. Well, we'll play Eldrazi Temple. Get in with the Thought Knot Seer. Hit ya. Just in case our opponent has some sort of answer to Trinisphere, we're gonna play another Trinisphere, pass the turn. But if they storm off through Trinisphere, I would be amazed. So we're gonna make a bunch of spawns, exile a bunch of cards. Ooh, Chalice that can go on 2. Oh, that is beautiful. That is beautiful. A Chalice of the Void on the magic number, which is 2. And that is actually gonna do it. Trinispheres into Chalice on 2. Our opponent can't play any magic. Now for the scary one. Can we do it with our opponent being on the play? That's the real question. With our opponent going first, can we actually do the same thing? We're going to bring in the Gemstone Caverns. We're going to run it back. So the dream hand, Gemstone Caverns, Uggin's Labyrinth, Trinisphere with a 7. So for a turn 1 Trinisphere on the draw, that would be the dream. We need something pretty explosive, though, because this deck is scary. Bunch of Eldrazi Temples, through the Breach Dismember. I don't think that's not the one. That's not the hand that's going to let us beat this super scary Storm deck. Turn 2. We died on turn 2 in game 1. Turn 2. We're going to keep it. I don't think we can mulligan any further. I am not feeling confident, though. So this is turn 2 Thought Knot, but on the draw, we might be dead by the time we cast this Thought Knot Seer. That is a real... Oh, there it is, too. Eldrazi Temple go. Oh, Magic Gods. Magic Gods, let us live. Let us live. Elegant Baller. So to win on turn 2, you need Ritual into Ral into Ritual along with card draw in hand. So you kind of need like a 3-4 card combo. So it's not super common, but that is the draw that does it. Ritual first to play the Ral. Ritual again after the Ral so you can cast more spells. All right, Ruby Medallion. Ruby Medallion, but no follow-up. I don't know what we want to draw here. I think we're just Thought Knotting no matter what. Besage. Well, I think Thought Knot's probably better. We're just going to cast the Thought Knot. We could Besage the Ruby Medallion, but I think this is fine. How do we lose? So if we want to take the Static Prison, because that could get rid of our Trinisphere. If we take the Static Prison, they can play Ral for 1 mana. We're going to take We're taking Static Prison. This sets us up to lock the game with Trinisphere next turn. They need to draw like rituals or card draw, I think. I don't think they can just do it with the Wish with 2 lands. If they draw a Ritual, then it becomes a little scary because they could Ral, Ritual, Wish. Who knows what they get with Wish. And if they can get to flipping Ral, then we're in serious trouble. Okay. Static Prison to get the Thought Knot, that's actually super greedy. So they draw what we thought sees. They play the Ral. Pass. However, there's a tiny bit of good news here. Actually, there's a whole lot of good news here, which is... we have a Trinisphere. Opponent, gotta pay some energy. That's also 2 Static Prisons down, because we got rid of 1. And opponent, can't beat it, can't beat it, can't beat it! Our prison plan, maybe that's the secret to taking down the Storm deck, which the Storm deck is currently, I believe... Well, let's look at the metagame page real quick. Last I looked, if you look at, like, since Modern Horizons 3 released... It is, yeah, it's the most played deck, technically. Technically the most played deck. What about the last 7 days? Even more the most played deck. Yeah, it's the #1 deck in Modern right now. Did we salve it? Is the idea of playing some Through the Breach with main deck Trinispheres, main deck Chalices to lock them out of the game. We went 4-1. We went 4-1. That's actually a really good performance. I think we got to see, let's open all of our treasure chests. We got a bunch of treasure chests here. I think we got to see the upside of 5 treasure chests. Let's get some value here. What do we get in chest number 1? Ooh, Eladrami Corvic Doll. Not one of the more expensive Modern Horizons cards. How much is... I'm going to look it up just for fun. Eladrami Corvic Doll. Oh, it's like 10 cents. It's like 10 cents. All right, it's like super cheap. All right. That's not the Modern Horizons 3 card we wanted. A Boyo Who Split the Heavens. A little expensive as... Kamigawa card's so funny. It's like, yeah, it has a pretty powerful ability, right? Whenever you cast a Spirit Arcane, you get a free 3/3 Spirit Creature with Flying, but it's a 7-mana 3/6 Sapphire Medallion. I mean, that's not the one breaking Modern at the moment, or breaking Modern before we started Trinispheering, Restless Cottage. But Sapphire Medallion, I think it's the second best of the medallions as far as value. Primal Prayers. Lots of Modern Horizons 3 cards in treasure chest. My last treasure chest. Come on, big hitter. Big hitter. How about a Tameo or something? Or a Might Overseer. Well, at least we got a bunch of play points. So this deck, I gotta say, I kind of love this deck. We really got to do my favorite thing in Magic, which is lock people out of the game. I think that last game was the best example where we just actually, we made it so Storm couldn't win. But really, if you go back through our games, Trinisphere was key against the Chthonian Nightmare deck. That was like super important. It was key against the Tameo deck in our very first or second game, like back in the beginning of the league. So it was very good in a lot of games. Chalice was also very good. I think we got the full experience though, right? We got the full experience where We also got to see where they're really bad, which is we ran into that other Eldrazi deck, the one match that we lost in this league, and in that matchup, they just don't actually care about Trinisphere or Chalice. So we're playing all these cards in our main deck that are kind of dead, so it's a little bit matchup dependent, right? Like, you're gonna hit some matchups where it's not nearly as good as others, but if you go back to the metagame page, and what we were looking at before, which is the meta in Modern, like post-Modern Horizons 3, I mean, the plan is good against Living Edits, good against Ruby Storm, it's good against any of the Prowess decks, it's reasonable against the scam decks, so it's actually good in quite a few matchups, and then in the matchups where it's bad, and that doesn't even include like Murktide and Burn, the bad ones like Tron, that's not a good matchup, that's like the bad matchup. Amulet Titan, also not a great matchup, so there's a couple of bad matchups, but a lot of the decks actually really do care about Trinisphere and Chalice, and then if they're bad, we try to take them out and bring in whatever, Dismembers and Thought-Knots and so forth. But overall, I think the deck's really cool. It's a little weird to be breaching, but I think one of the things I've learned playing prison decks is, especially in 2024, you can't really lock people forever. It is very, very difficult in a world where stuff like Beseiju exists, where there's this land that you can't counter, you can't do anything about, that's going to be able to blow up your lock piece, blow up your Blood Moon, blow up your Chalice, blow up your Trinisphere. So there's just so many ways to get out of the lock piece that you really need to think of these lock pieces a lot of times as like tempo plays almost, where when we stake that Trinisphere, yeah, sure, maybe we hit Storm and we lock them forever. But in a lot of matchups, we're going to be locking our opponent for a bunch of turns, 4 turns, 5 turns, 6 turns, and it's our responsibility in those turns to have a way to win the game. And it turns out that being able to breach an Ulamog or an Emrakul is just the best way to win the game, especially since it all kind of synergizes, right? To play our lock pieces, we need Ugin's Labyrinth. If we're going to Ugin's Labyrinth, we need these big, expensive 7+ colorless cards to make Ugin's Labyrinth work. And if we're going to play these big, expensive 7+ mana colorless cards, well, how do you win the game with them? Not going to hardcast an Emrakul very easily, but you can throw the Breach it into play. So I really like how the deck just all kind of flows together. I will also say, last word, we got to see the ultimate Ulamog, right? We had the Ulamog as a 22/22 Annihilator 15, which is, I think, as high as you can get Annihilator in Modern. I think that's the biggest number you can possibly get. So that was pretty sweet too. Ulamog, yeah, it's mostly a backup Emrakul, but when it's good, it's really good. So anyway, that is Prison Breach. That's been our deck for today. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon.